Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another Chelsea transfer news update live stream video. Of course, we'll also be discussing last night's game, especially as Pice was there. But there's a lot to discuss. Is Lukaku coming home? That's the thumbnail, that's the title. But literally, as I was preparing everything, there's drama happening. So there are so many things to discuss. Apparently, Messi's not staying in Barcelona. Are we going to sign Messi? No, we're not, but it's fun to talk about. Atalanta actually going to give 40 million euros for Tammy Abraham. Madness. What's happening with Jules Kounde? There's so much to talk about. So to get through all of it, we'll start things off straight away. But before that, I need to introduce my guests. And we have a newbie on the channel, Mr. Johnathan Man, as you might know him off Twitter, man handle, CFC. Man, first of all, thank you for joining. That was not a pun intended, that man. But thank you for joining. But yeah, how you doing? And how you feeling about all of this drama kicking off at the moment?
It just seems to change every day. Every time I check Pice's tweets, he's tweeting something different. So he's kept a lot of people informed and me included. So yeah, it changes by the hour, it seems. So yeah, look, I'm excited to talk football with both of you guys. I haven't talked to you on a stream before. So yeah, buzzing to kind of get into this.
Exactly. I'm excited for it. I'm excited. And obviously, Pice, as I just said, you were at the game last night, but also, you're the man to relay the news to all of the Chelsea fans. So, who better to have on a day like this than Pice himself? First of all, how are you doing? Second of all, what's happening?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be back on. I'm trying my best with all these updates, but there is so many. So things it's like a constant fluid situation. He told yesterday that he wanted the board, the Inter board, to accept the suitable offer, and then it kind of seemed almost done, right? We was going to make this third bid, 120 mil, 130 mil euros, and then all of a sudden, Inter Milan fans are protesting, again today against the owner now. Yesterday it was the board and, saying how their promises must be kept, because they said all along that Lukaku's untouchable. We won't sell two big players. They already sold Hakimi. So, they wanted the promises to be kept. And Sky Sports are saying that there's going to be another update at 7 o'clock UK time. So I guess that's 8 o'clock Italy. Basically saying that they've got a big decision to make, obviously, kind of what we already know, because the fans are very annoyed. The executives are annoyed with the owner, because the owner, Steven Zhang, is the one who's actually trying to, well, he's the one that's apparently going to accept this offer because he's the owner, of course, right? But the executives don't agree. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they can persuade Zhang to sort of, I don't know, maybe just rule out Lukaku and say, we'll sell, I don't know, Lautaro and Brozovic instead, or something like that. I don't know. They haven't got very many plays that can sort of clear the debt, as you'd say. Lukaku would be the most obvious one, but still, things are changing all the time. So let's just hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah, it's a weird one, really. I mean, we'll obviously deep dive into it and give all of our thoughts on it, but it's weird. I mean, initially, when all of the Lukaku stuff came out, I think it was Simon Johnson that it first came out, or was it Di Matteo? I can't remember, but whoever came out first with the fact that we've already had two bids rejected. When that news came out, I'm like, this is all a big load of smokescreen, and we're just getting Haaland anyway. But then for the 24 hours or a bit less than that, following that announcement of, two bids we've already had rejected, and then this third bid, the 100 million euros plus Alonso, we had that rejected too. In the 24 hours around that, the news got so big and so many people talking about it, and everyone that you'd ever consider reliable basically said this is kind of happening. Then I was like, all right, maybe it's not smokescreen. Maybe we gave up on Haaland and we're getting Lukaku. Fair enough. And now this comes out. I'm back to maybe it was a smokescreen. So who knows? Nah, I don't actually think it was a smokescreen at this point anymore. But you never know. Chelsea might be doing a madness. But I mean, you've summarized it very well there. It's a bit weird. Obviously, people in England, we had the Super League protests, but people in England don't really comprehend the ultra culture. When the ultras turn up, it can get a bit nasty. It can do. It hasn't yet. They've only just hung up some banners, but it can do. So it's definitely a bit different than a few Tottenham fans standing outside their stadium saying, we don't want to join the Super League. So, I mean, it's not quite the same thing. But whether they will actually have enough of an impact, especially on their foreign owners, I don't know. If the owner, and it's like if Abramovich wants to sell someone and we have someone that pays the money, is actually anybody going to stop him? I doubt it. Obviously, I don't know the exact ins and outs of how much control and power that man has over Inter. But if it was Chelsea and Roma wants to sell someone, that man's gone. Also, at this point, you're in a situation where Lukaku has at least reportedly asked to, move to Chelsea. Is isn't that kind of the point of no return? You then want to kind of like change your mind? Nah, mate. You're actually staying. We're going to sell your striking partner who helped you loads, and then your midfielder, and basically you're not going to win the league again next year. Like, let's be honest, Inter don't have the money to win the league again next year. Is that like I don't know? It's a tough one. But Johnathan, how do you see the whole situation, I suppose, evolving with everything that's come out today? And obviously, guys, we will still be live by the time this news should come out around 7 p.m. So let's see what happens. But how do you feel about all of this at the moment?
There's just so many variables. It's unbelievable. I mean, in England, I think as fans, yes, we can protest. But if you're an owner and you know your club's in a lot of they're in financial ruin. They've pretty much come out. They've had to sell the Chinese club that they own or the shares in that club. They've pretty much said they need to sell players. Now, they did make a promise to say that they're only going to sell Hakimi, one big player. They sold Hakimi for a fair bit of money. But look, as Pai said, if they don't sell Lukaku, they may have to sell Martinez and Brozovic. So you're losing even more of a spine of the team. Instead of cashing in on one big player, yes, I know Lukaku is going to be a massive miss for them, but then you can keep hold of Martinez or Brozovic, maybe a couple of the other ones, and try and rebuild and try and at least get top 4 next season. Because if you maybe keep Lukaku as the main big player who can attract sort of 120, 130 million pounds, which could help massively towards the debts that the club have, or you lose 2 or 3 players that are quite important to the side, and it almost just breaks down. So I think the priority for them is to qualify for the Champions League next year, because that's a massive revenue stream for them. And I get Lukaku is a massive threat. He's a lot of goals to lose. His link up with Martinez has been fantastic, but that one player could solve a lot of issues. And then maybe you can hang on to the other ones. And look, the fans and ultras, I know it's a different culture in Italy, but we don't put our hands in our pockets and fund clubs. Now, the owner has got to choose between a couple of seasons of pretty much near administration or financial ruin, or selling one big player and trying to rebuild around what they have under the new manager Inzaghi. Then maybe he's probably going to weigh it all up. And if he had the choice, as he looks like he's going to do, he wants to just sell Lukaku and try and keep the others, because the worst thing you can do is as I said, lose 2 or 3 or 4 players, and then they really will suffer. And if they don't get Champions League, it's going to make them suffer even more. So on the flip side, if I was Chelsea, they need the money. Lukaku's pretty much said he wants to come, and do Inter Milan want to keep a player that wants to leave? There's as I said, so many variables. If I was Chelsea, it just seems like you just need to chuck money at it and just see what sticks. So very interesting to see this update at 7 o'clock.
100%. That's quite it. But before we discuss more about Lukaku, because I want to not just discuss that, does it happen, does it not? I also want to talk about, what player is he? Are we happy about it, especially with Johnathan, who haven't spoken about it before? But before that, I do quickly want to touch on last night's game, especially as Pice was, of course, there. Before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to, I guess, 12K, but essentially 15 and then the big 20. So get subscribed if you haven't already. Smash that like button. We already have over 100 people watching, so make sure you smash that like button. At least 60 right now, but why not 100? Go down below, smash that like button. Doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time. Might as well just do it. And if you want to support the channel or want to get your thoughts involved, because I can't read out every comment, do use the super chat function. But of course, you never have to. But Pice, last night's game, 2-2 between Chelsea and Tottenham. Great first half, great first 50, 55 minutes. After that, a bit shit, but is what it is. Before that, it was great. You were there. How was it? Stamford Bridge. I'm not even sure how many people were there in the end. Was it even more than against Leicester? I don't even know. But I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, because I think the first half was really good, and then the second half I was kind of just sitting there like really bored, because a lot of the really fringe players came on, and I was just like, yeah, this is a bit dead, but it was still good to be back. A few of the players really just gave me a lot of stress watching them, but yeah, it was a good time overall. I think it would have been nice to win, obviously, but Ziyech played really well, and Kante, watching Kante live, that performance, by the way, he played 45 minutes. That was just outrageous. The Cruyff turning into Ali as well, that was beautiful. And yeah, just the whole atmosphere was really good. Shame about the parade though. I thought it would be a bit longer. I thought they was going to come round the sides to the fans, but it was kind of just in the middle, put it up in the air and walk back. So I was a bit disappointed with that. But yeah, overall it was good. It was good, bro.
Yeah, they definitely oversold that whole trophy thing a little bit, but is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, it was a weird game. We were so good first half, and Spurs were also so bad first half in particular. We should have obviously been 2-0 up because Timo Werner scored, and that's what happens when English referees don't have VAR. It was so clearly onside. I can't comprehend how this linesman got it that wrong. Like, it was well on. Also, like, it wasn't even the guy was behind him. I don't even understand how he saw Werner, because the Spurs player would have covered the linesman's sight of Werner. So I don't even understand how he could have thought that he was off. Maybe it's just the reputation. Some players have a reputation of diving, so the refs always don't give pens, don't give free kicks. Maybe because Werner's always offside, the liner just gave offside, Maybe that's just what you get, I suppose. But first goal was brilliant. What a tackle by Kante, what a shot by Ziyech. And we should have probably made it 2 or 3, even regardless of the not given offside goal. And we make it 2-0 just after Chalobah clears up of the first Bakayoko mistakes, first of many. We make it 2-0. Lovely goal, lovely team goal as well. And then everything kind of just turns a bit shit because our defenders don't know how to close someone down, and then they let Lucas shoot. It bounces into the goal. And then Malang turns up, and that's awful. And then Mendy can't keep his legs closed. At least Mendy got the mistake out the way, because if he does that again, I'm like, bruh, that's worse than what Kepa does. At least Kepa doesn't get megged. It's mental. Anyway, I'm obviously joking around, right? But after that, I don't even want to focus too much on what happened after that, because how many of those players are going to be here? Ruben, it's kind of half it. Pulisic, I suppose. But Johnathan, what did you make of the game yesterday? And also... Yeah. Is there anyone that stood out except from Kante and Ziyech? Because obviously I think everyone's kind of spoken about those two.
I was there as well. I mean, it's the first time I've been there since Chelsea. My bad. Post all this hassle going on. So 17 odd months, first time I've been there. So I was there literally with the other side of the coin to do the Champions League parade. He said, I want you and another guy, Taron, to go. And it was like, as Pius said, they just walked out. Okay, it was a bit of a guard of honour from the players. He walked out to the centre circle and went back, and you expected him to walk around the stadium, kind of get the fans going, show it off for the first time. So, it was a bit disappointing, and they did definitely oversell it, like you said. But, I thought the first half was terrific. That was probably quite close to what the team is going to be for the Super Cup, with everyone obviously back from the Euros only a few days. We've got another in-house game. So, I would expect 8-9 out of those 11 players to start in the Super Cup. But along with Ziyech, who obviously fantastic, Kante was fantastic. But I thought Kovacic was really good as well. Kovacic and Kante ruled the midfield. That was one of the reasons we were so good in the first half.
Keep going with that prop, bro. Keep going.
Kovacic, I mean, what Loftus-Cheek does, or what Kovacic does, is what a lot of people want Loftus-Cheek to do. But obviously, he had goals. It's the same as I want Loftus-Cheek to be able to run at players. And physically, I thought Kovacic was fantastic yesterday. But him and Kante in the midfield, and you had Alonso, who obviously is a specialist left wing back. Hudson-Odoi was, I thought, pretty good. Other than I just wanted to take a couple more players on. I thought when we had that kind of in the pivot and the two left and right wing back, which is quite pivotal to how Tuchel wants to play. When we had those four playing, who were superb the first half, maybe not so much Alonso, but those three especially, we looked in control. Spurs could not handle us, and obviously we were 2-0 very deservedly. Second half is the only reason they got back into the game is because we took off that spine of the midfield, who were fantastic, and we lost control. Obviously, Loftus-Cheek, that's not his real position, but he wasn't particularly helped with Bakayoko, who just didn't look comfortable, looked nervous, shot of confidence. Sarr obviously came on. We changed the back line, who they weren't as comfortable on the ball, because the first half you had Chalobah, Zouma and Rudiger, who were willing to pass it short, pass it long, physically were good, and obviously communicated really well. But yes, it's just a change of second half. It really ruined it for me. And maybe that was a ploy from Tuchel to say, look, you clearly need either these players to stand up and be counted, or you need to give me some signings to the Chelsea board. But second half, it was disappointing. I would have liked to have seen the likes of Havertz, Werner, Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech get a bit more minutes ahead of the Super Cup. But, the other side to that is maybe he didn't want to overrun them and get injured. So, it was a good performance first half. It was definitely a game of two halves. But Ziyech, especially for me, was terrific. Everything you want to see. Him and Hudson-Odoi linking up. He always wanted the ball. He's willing to shoot. He had a bit of pace about him. Looks a little bit stronger as well. So, it was good to see. But we need to definitely step it up in the Super Cup ahead of the Palace game in, less than 10 days' time now.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I mean, I think it was Bakayoko came on at halftime and Ruben only came off on after 65, and it was already even Kova and Bakayoko. It was already struggle center. I mean, not because Kovacic did anything wrong, but because Bakayoko ruined everything, and because of how great Kante was before in terms of, and the comparison was so drastic, it was a bit mad. It was honestly a bit crazy. But yeah, I mean, I would probably agree in terms of players that stood out. I think Kovacic was very good. I was actually happy with Ruben. I see what you're saying with the defensive part of the game. Sure, control of the game. But I thought he got almost a tad better again when he came on. Obviously, I know we conceded that goal, but like Ruben can't exactly do anything about Malang Sarr's awful pass, I guess. But I thought he got a bit better again, not just because Kova came off and Ruben came on. That's not what I'm trying to say, but because Bakayoko calmed himself down a little bit again and started being a bit less shit, if that makes sense. At least that's what it seemed like to me. But yeah, it's a tough one. At the end of the day, we had 3 official preseason games. I suppose 4, 3 of them televised. So 4, won 3 of them, drew 1 of them. Hey, and Spurs left their first team on the pitch for much longer than we did. So hey, I'm pretty happy. I don't even think like if we play against like we did against Arsenal for a while and like we did against Spurs for the first 50 minutes, I think we'll be very comfortable against Villarreal, to be honest. I think you have to be a special kind of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer not to beat them lot. I can't lie. I mean, maybe this comes back to haunt me now, but the only reason we don't win the Super Cup, potentially in my eyes, is because it's the Super Cup and we just don't win that. But not because of the opponent. Like, it's ridiculous in my head that Arsenal and Manchester United lost to Villarreal. Yes, Unai Emery is fun and a great manager, but nah. Like, they finished 7th in La Liga. Nah. Like, come on, sort yourselves out. But does either of you have anything else to add about the game? Because otherwise, I suppose we'll get back to transfer news. Pys, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered everything. I think.
Brilliant.
Actually,
Before we get
one thing I was going to mention. One player in particular I was very impressed with was Cheva Chalobah, I think his name is. Yeah. I said last night I'll be interested to see what happens with him because obviously we have like this whole Kounde situation at the moment, and you know you don't know what's going to end up happening with that. So and Tuchel praised him a lot. So I wonder, you know, if that deal doesn't happen, which to be fair, Simon Johnson and the Athletic have said it's going to happen no matter what. But still, you know, if it doesn't happen, just for doing a hypothetical, then I think he could be in place like as a squad as like a depth option because he was really good and he's been good in pre-season, to be fair.
He has played really well, but what a segue though, because I was literally going to take it to Kounde so we don't fire all of our Lukaku stuff out the window before we get news in probably half an hour. So let's talk about the other people first and then get to Lukaku a bit more. So I was going to start with Jules Kounde, of course, from Sevilla, French centre-back. What is he, 22, 23, whatever. What was it at this point? Like nearly a week ago, we were basically told he's coming. We were basically told Zouma's going that way. We're going to either pay 35 million, maybe they want a bit more, so we're going to add another 10, and then we're going to get Kounde. Brilliant. Since then, we've realised, okay, Sevilla don't actually really want Zouma that much. Then we've apparently offered them Kennedy, which obviously they didn't want either. Then we tried to give Zouma to West Ham, but Zouma wasn't having none of that. And now we're like, well, until we get rid of Zouma, we can't sign Kounde. So have I summarised that well, or have I forgotten anything important here, Pys?
No, I'm pretty sure you covered everything. I just think as well with the West Ham as well with Zouma, we wanted to sell obviously Zouma to West Ham, and then they had an original agreement on personal terms, and then it kind of broke down, and now they're going for Milenkovic, I think, from Fiorentina. So it could be quite hard to sell Zouma because like that's the whole thing at the moment, right? We need to sell him just to make way, and then we can put that cash towards Kounde so we can buy him outright because his clause is I think 59 million. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, whether or not we maybe add another player in the swap deal instead of Zouma. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting.
Barkley.
Not sure.
Just get rid.
I'd love to send him off. I'd love to just throw like Malang Sarr, Baba, Barkley, Drinkwater all in there. But
give them all of our players.
Yeah, it's actually not going to happen. I mean, we've got 40.
To go to Sevilla, like you can have 7 players and you give us Kounde for free.
Bro, we've got 42 players in the building right now, so it's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. It honestly is crazy. But Kounde, it's an interesting one. I know you like him a lot, Pys, hence why I'm going to go to Johnathan first, because I do have a couple of small reservations about him, but not necessarily because I don't think he's good enough, but because I'm not sure if he doesn't limit us a tad bit tactically. But we'll get to that. But first, would you be happy if we signed Kounde? Would you be happy if we sold Zouma in place of him? Or would you prefer to just keep Zouma in that situation?
I think, again, Zouma was quite good last night, and he has done well since Tuchel come in. Maybe he's not so much as what Tuchel wants in a defender. I think Kounde's maybe a little bit more in terms of ball playing, in terms of progressing the ball. It's just interesting to see what happens because, yeah, we have been told that it's pretty much done. We thought Zouma was going to leave. But it's very interesting to see, like someone like Chalobah, it's all reliant on whether Zouma stays, whether we sign Kounde. I think if Zouma goes and we sign Kounde, Chalobah could maybe stay. But I think, again, this all hinges on what we can do with Sevilla, whether we pay it all outright, whether we throw in one or two players. And I agree with you guys. I would pretty much, if anyone agrees to go, just chuck them in. You know, let's make one of the first swap deals of like 2-3 players, because I think he will come. In all seriousness, I think we'll probably just pay the outright money. I don't think Zouma will go, but yeah, I'd be more than happy to keep Zouma. I think he's, I wouldn't say underrated, but I don't think he's appreciated as much as he could be. I mean, there's a couple of times last night where he challenged really well, especially on the ground. He always manages to get the ball and the man, which is always a nice sight as an English fan when you're at a stadium and a player kind of goes in wholeheartedly. And when you had Rudiger and himself and Chalobah, all three of them look really good together. So especially playing in the centre of that three, Zouma, a lot of people don't think he can play there, but he looked quite good on the ball last night. So it's very interesting to see what happens. I'll be very happy to keep Zouma. But yeah, Kounde, for me, I like him. I think he gets a lot of stick for his height. I'm not so sure where that comes from. I know English teams, we like taller players, we like heading ability, but yeah, I don't think that's as much of an issue as people are making out. So yeah, I'm more than happy for him to come, and I think he probably will.
He probably will. I actually want to highlight this comment by TK13. And I saw a couple of other comments earlier about Lukaku. I will get back to those. Don't worry. If you want to make it easier for me, comment them again when we talk about Lukaku. But TK13 is here, said, absolutely ridiculous to see some of the fan base criticizing Zouma's reluctance to move to Sevilla slash West Ham. He's been a great servant and deserves to choose what he wants to do. No, absolutely. I mean, as much as the club always hold power over a player, and I'm the first one to always say, hey, if you're contracted, we're boss, not you, so get lost. Like, there was always talk about what if someone then, puts in a transfer request. But when Callum did that, I was like, put him in the reserves. I don't want to see him for the next 3 years. I'm like, get lost. Bloody transfer request 3 days before transfer deadline. I was fuming. Everyone knows that I was fuming. I'm kind of over it. Still not fully, but, we move. I hope he finally kicks on so I can fully get over it. But at the same time, it's the other way around. If a player's contracted, we've offered him a contract. Why should he just move on because we don't like him anymore? He should go where he feels happy and where he's happy to go. It is a bit weird, though, and I saw Pies tweet about this. So apparently he didn't want to leave London because he's super settled here. Then we offer him to a London club and he doesn't want to go there. So it's like, well, which one is it then, bro? Like, what? I mean, maybe he'd like Arsenal just because he's best mates with David Luiz. David Luiz left. Where's David Luiz going? Does anyone know this?
Haven't seen any news at all. Pies is the transfer news, man. What have you seen?
No, I heard a couple of things like about going back to Brazil, but there's not been like anything recently. I don't think I've seen.
That's a bit mad. All right. Well, anyways, maybe he just wants to be there with best mate William or whatever he wants to do. I don't know, but it is a bit strange. Sorry. Yeah.
Focus on the restaurant.
Maybe they'll make another restaurant just because he has more time now. But yeah, the whole height thing for Kounde, my whole minor issue with the height is not at all in the back three. It's the same height as Aspie. Obviously, it's fine. And if anything, he'd play instead of Aspie in the current system. But if we change to a back four, and I know he played in a back four Sevilla, that's not what I'm trying to doubt here. But our problem is our other centre backs. If Thiago Silva is fit, Thiago Silva plays. And in my opinion, you cannot play Thiago Silva and Kounde together in a back four. Like, they're both not 6 foot. You can't like that. You cannot do that, in my opinion. Not in the Premier League. Like, sure, maybe some opponents that's okay. Say City, if they get Kane, maybe different. But in terms of how they usually play, it doesn't really matter if you're tall. But don't try that against Burnley. I mean, they will literally rip you to pieces if you have two centre backs under 6 foot. Like, you're going to lose every battle. It's not going to work, in my opinion. And like Rudiger, it probably works best. But Rudiger isn't that old. So, and with Christensen is taller than he looks, but he's not that great in the air. If there's a weakness to Christensen, it's probably in the air, in my opinion. So that's my small hesitation with Kounde. If we change to a back four, whether that's under Tuchel or in a couple of years a different manager, that's where I'm like, is he ready for the Prem there? But for a back three, I think you're not going to find many better right centre-backs at his age, in my opinion. But Pice, I know you feel quite strongly that he's absolutely fine with his height. So why don't you share your views on that whole situation?
Yeah, I just think first off, more importantly, is his mentality. One of the quotes he had on his height was just like, "I want this guy at Chelsea." His mentality is top. I'll have to try and find it actually because I can't remember all of it. But just give me a second. I'll go back to it on my Twitter because I tweeted it out. And it was just basically him just saying like, it motivates me because he knows ever since he's been smaller that he knows like they'll target him. It motivates him, and he then like had a dig at he had a dig at people by saying, you know, I've won more aerial duels than Ramos, and things like this. And I like that. Like that's kind of
Ramos
like
barely
that.
Played this season, so that's not very difficult.
No, but I'm trying to find the. Come back to me in a second, and I'll tell you it.
All right. Like I said, for me, it's just I don't even disagree with the mentality, and it's great that he wants to like make up for his lack of height with a lot of jumping power and, you know, just having great timing, which, you know, some players just have great timing. There's a reason why Aguero, even though he's quite short, scores a lot of headers, or not a lot in terms of compared to like Peter Crouch, but in comparison to other strikers his height. Because if you have good timing, that does wonders, even as a defender. But still, that works for like maybe set pieces and a genuine cross. But for when the ball's just punted and you're just a full foot shorter, or not a foot maybe, but, you know, a full head shorter than your opponent, that's going to be a little bit of a problem, in my opinion. Like, obviously, if you have two or three, it's fine. If one of them's at least tall. But if both are short, I think it's not ideal. Have you found it, Pys?
Yeah, I found it. So
Go on.
He said, opponents say it will be easier against Kounde. That motivates me. I've always had good timing and a good leap. I like aerial duels and I win more head-to-head battles than Ramos because no one dares to play a long ball against him. That's what he said.
It's a fair point. Well, it's a fair point from him, but also a fair pro point for Ramos, because who even tries, I suppose, because he's going to win them most of the time anyway. And the people that do try, they're probably really good in the air, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I'd be a fan of Kounde. Is he very expensive? Sure. Do we desperately, like, if before this transfer window, if you told me, do we need a centre-back if we stick to the same formation, I probably would have told you, well, yeah, but first we need a striker, then we need a centre-back, then we need to think about what we're doing at left-back, because still nobody knows, are we trying to sell both Alonso and Emerson? Are we trying to sell just one? What if we sell both? Who do we get instead? Because clearly we need a backup left-back. And the 2 free agents that would have been a possibility have both found new clubs already. So what do we do there? Plus, depending on formation, does Ziyech leave? Obviously, he's played so well in pre-season, but there's still the AC Milan rumours. So then potentially, do we need another winger? So only then would I have thought about a centre-back. But if you offer me a player that's as young and as promising and as good as Kounde is already, I'm not going to say no to it. So, you know, if we can make that happen, and Zouma is, at least in my opinion, as much as I like him as a guy especially, but also as a player, still clearly, in my opinion, bottom of the pecking order in our centre-backs. So, you know, if we're going to change the lowest in the pecking order for someone that comes in and potentially starts and is very good and will only get better and better and better, I'm not going to complain about that. So, you know, I don't really have much to argue against it. But to be honest, it's not much else to add about Kounde. Obviously, we'll talk about it more if it hots up again. But for the time being, unless either of you have anything else to add, I think that's probably going to be it. But before we get to Lukaku, we need to talk about Tammy Abraham, because obviously it's all a bit of a domino effect. The reports are said that if Chelsea sign Lukaku from Inter are going to try to sign Duvan Zapata from Atalanta Bergamo, and then Atalanta Bergamo are going to apparently make a 40 million euros offer to Chelsea for Tammy Abraham. And I'm like, really? Yes, please. Because I like Tammy, but he clearly doesn't want to stay. So if someone actually gives us 40 million, I know it's the wrong currency, but it's still 40 million. I'll bloody take it. You know what I mean? Like I was a couple of weeks ago, I was like, we're never getting 40 million at this point. Otherwise, it probably would have been gone already. Villa signed Danny Ings, you know, West Ham, don't know what they're doing, and who else is going to really sign him, let's be honest. So I was like, what do we really do? I'm just baffled that Atalanta have this much money. Sure, they'll probably get quite a bit for Zapata because he's a very good Serie A striker. But Atalanta is like a fairly small town in the north of Italy. Like, their stadium wasn't even good enough to play Champions League, so they had to play in the San Siro. Do you know what I mean? And now, all of a sudden, they have 40 million for Tammy Abraham. But with their manager, Gasperini, and their team, like, I would love to see Tammy there. Like, I would genuinely, I mean, I like Atalanta in the first place, also because there's like a fan friendship with my local club in Atalanta. So I've always had a bit of a small connection to them. So I've always tried to watch them every now and again. But I'd definitely be tuning in all the time. I think he'd be banging in the goals. So I'd be excited for that. But let me go with you first, Johnathan. Would you be excited for Tammy, I suppose, to go to a club like that? And would you be happy if we got those 40 million euros, or how do you see that?
Yeah, 100%. I think Zapata rumours that he's going to leave for 40 million, which they'll just spend the money on Abraham. So it's pretty much just a roundabout and a knock-on effect from the Lukaku deal. But yeah, look, I've seen Atlanta a couple of times, especially in the Champions League last season. They score goals. They create so many chances. And Tammy's someone who scores, I'd say 1 in 3. You know, he's not as clinical as he wants or as we'd want him to be. But yeah, in the Italian league, where it's a little bit slower, I know there's a lot more emphasis on defending, but he's going to get a lot of chances in that Atlanta team. And it could be a chance for him to go abroad. Look, I know it's a different position. We've seen Tomori go abroad and flourish. Again, I know it's more defensively minded, that league, but he's gone abroad, less pressure, less eyes on him. He's just been able to get game time, and he's done really well. Abraham would be a starter at Atalanta. He'd get a lot of minutes. He'd get a lot of chances. And if you can bag 15, 20 goals, have a couple of good seasons there, then you can assess your options. Because I agree with you, Laurenz. Look, I would like Abraham to stay. I'd love him to be the number 2 striker at Chelsea, sort of along with Werner, who is a little bit versatile. But if he doesn't want to sign a new contract, he's out of contract soon. I just think you've got to cash in if someone, you know, the way he played yesterday and kind of the clapping after the game, there's a few pictures and reports saying that it could be his last game in a Chelsea shirt. He didn't offer enough for me yesterday. Yes, I know we weren't in the ascendancy. We didn't play as well as we did in the first half. But Havertz and Werner were always wanting the ball. Ziyech, they were craving the ball. They were coming deeper. They were looking to get in behind. Now, I know Abraham made a few good runs, but he wasn't quite on it for me. I know he hasn't had as many minutes as he probably wanted in pre-season, but it just, for me, I just feel like half his foot's out the door. So as much as I'd want him to stay, I think he's a good option for Chelsea. He's done really well for us. If we can cash in, and you know that money would effectively go towards someone like Lukaku, he is going to come here and score goals. I wouldn't be too fussed. So obviously it's all dependent on Lukaku, but yeah, Abraham, it will be a very good move for him as well. Go there for a couple of years, 2-3 years, get some goals under your belt, get some more experience, get an all-round game, because he still needs to be a little bit more physically filled out, because there's a couple of times last night where, you know, even the Spurs defenders were pushing him, and I just feel like he just needs to get a couple of years experience and then, you know, assess his options. So yeah, as much as I want him to stay, I think he will probably go, obviously, with the Lukaku and Zapata deal. So yeah, an interesting one for me, but it's just a shame because I did, under Lampard's first season, it was great to see him come through with the other younger boys from Cobham, but it looks like he could be another one that does leave.
It does look like, and we have another interesting comment here by TK13 saying Atalanta may be able to afford Tammy's transfer fee if they do sell Zapata to Inter, which obviously, like we said, the domino effect. But he said, I seriously doubt that they would be able to meet Tammy's reported 120 to 130,000 pounds, that would be then, wage demands, which is a very fair point. Like, I don't know what even Papu Gomez was on before he left for Sevilla in January, but I can't imagine that their wage bill was particularly high, if I'm being totally honest with you. So that might be a fair point. The question is, does Tammy want 120 to 130 if he's not a starter? Or does Tammy want 120 or 130 regardless of where he goes, what he does? Because it feels like to me, obviously, if we gave Tammy those wages, he probably would have signed a contract and probably would have dealt with not starting. But maybe if he goes somewhere where he knows he'll start, he's okay with less money. Because even at Arsenal, with the reports there, with who were said to give him those wages, even at Arsenal, he's not 1,000% guaranteed to start. Do they sell Lacazette? They still have Aubameyang as that striker option. I still find it weird that they use him on the wing all the time, especially the older he gets. It's weird that he went from striker to left wing the older he gets. That's very odd to me. Even there, but at Atalanta, he would just start and, in my opinion, do well. So it's a tough one, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see. But with that said, I'll put it to you, Pais. First of all, do you think that his wage demands could be a problem in him potentially going to Atalanta? And whether you do or you don't, would you in general be happy with that move if it were to happen?
Yeah, no idea on the wages, to be honest, because I don't really know much about Atalanta and their wage bill, but so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, I would be definitely happy with the deal. I mean, 34 million, I think it is exactly. Just say 35, because that's probably what they'll pay. Would be very, very good. I mean, you know, Matt Law in his article yesterday was saying that we've already covered half of the Lukaku fee from player sales, and we're looking to cover most of it by selling Tammy Abraham as well. So just imagine getting like 80, 90 million pounds from selling all these guys that don't play or are not in the plans. Like, that would just be like prime Marina. That really would, like a prime Marina move. But yeah, I would be happy for him, I think, as well, because he gets to play Champions League football. Di Marzio said as well, Chelsea want to sell him abroad. So I think it makes sense for all parties. Like, we don't really want to sell him in the Premier League just in case, you know, he turned really, really good. So Yeah, I think overall it'll be a good deal for all parties involved. The thing I like, although I am happy with it, the thing I don't think will happen is this whole triangle operation. Like, it very well could, but I just, when people talk about, oh, you know, Lukaku to Chelsea, Zapata to Inter, Tammy to Atalanta, like, it sounds simple until like the negotiations and stuff start. So, you know, everyone was like, "Oh, yeah, that's great." You know, swap them around and stuff. And triangle operations have happened before. I just think I wouldn't say unlikely. I just think it's not as, you know, dead set as people are making it out to be. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my gut feeling, I think.
I mean, we were literally part of a triangle operation a few years ago when we let Batshuayi go to Dortmund, so Arsenal could sign Aubameyang and we signed Giroud. Obviously, that kind of worked out all right for us in the end. I would have still had rather Aubameyang at that point. I can't lie to you. I mean, he's won 2 Golden Boots in that period, and Giroud has scored, 20 goals? I mean, like, as much as Giroud did great things for us, when called upon, pretty sure Aubameyang still would have done better. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, the only stumble block there, I see either how much money Bergamo want or Atalanta want for Zapata and the wage demands of Tammy for Atalanta, if that makes sense. I feel like if we get Lukaku, Zapata is almost a like-for-like replacement type of player and stuff, just not as good, but very proven in this area. So I would firmly believe that they would like to sign Zapata if they did sell Romelu Lukaku. But I suppose that does put us onto Lukaku. We're about 10 minutes away from hopefully finding out a bit of more news because it's all kicking off at the moment. I mean, someone said, look at ESPN. I did look at ESPN, didn't see nothing, so I don't know really what you're talking about, in all honesty.
Oh, my
But
sorry to cut you off, but check Fabrizio. Messi's not playing at Barca anymore. Oh, my days.
Is he actually not? That's a bit mad. Let's talk about that for a second. Lionel Messi, after 16 years of professional football, will apparently leave Barcelona.
Wow.
Who can afford him? Can anyone afford him? Who called me? My mother, for whatever reason. I don't know.
Wow.
But it's a bit mad. It's a bit crazy. Chelsea, Messi to Chelsea? What are we saying?
I think it was PSG, wasn't it? But why not? Go on and put everything in.
Wow.
It doesn't matter. We can, PSG already beat us to Hakimi. We can. Messi follows Chelsea. He doesn't follow PSG. So I don't know. Obviously, Messi's not coming, but it's crazy. Like, the fact that he's actually leaving Barcelona is a bit mad. Is he going City? Is he going PSG? Could PSG actually win the Champions League if they get Messi? What front three PSG would have? Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi with Hakimi behind. They won't even defend. They just put Donnarumma in goal and just put all the other attackers on pitch. It's a bit crazy. But let's focus about Lukaku, because I see a lot of people. Say, "Oh, we're not happy with Lukaku. He's not good enough." I say a lot of people. Obviously, it's probably a vocal minority, but still, I still find it baffling how people underrate and underestimate him. I'm not saying he's the best striker in the world. But I'm saying he's comfortably one of the top 5 in the world. I mean, I'll happily name those top 5. You have Lewandowski, you have Kane, you have Benzema, but he's 33. You have Haaland, and you have Lukaku. I didn't necessarily put them in any order, but those 5. Check Cy Phillips. All right, let's see what he has said. But I have post notifications on for him, so I don't really know why. If he tweeted anything, I wouldn't have seen anything.
He just said that Chelsea are yet to match Inter's asking price, so no decision to make yet. And he just talks about an element of doubt and worry about any transfer deal. It's not done until the player's holding up the shirt, which is true. Him and Fabrizio are pretty much hot to the news on everything. So, I get his point, but again, I think it's a case of if we throw the right amount of money at it, I think they've got to accept Lukaku eventually, haven't they? So
I think it's another case of fans just getting ahead of themselves. No one said that we've made this offer yet. It's only ever been said that we will make this 120 or 130 million euros offer. That's what's been said. No one said that we've made it and they've accepted it. So I think that's mostly just fans getting ahead of themselves. What Simon said here. But whether it becomes a problem or not, we'll have to wait and see. Let's see if there's anything in like 8 minutes or 10 minutes. But like I said, Lukaku, for me, one of the top 5 strikers in the world. Would I have preferred Haaland? Yes. For his age, for the name, for the fear that would have struck into opposition, because it would have just been such a monumental deal. Not that Lukaku isn't, because clearly it's costing a lot of money. But with Lukaku, there's like, yeah, but you had him, you sold him. We could have signed him a few years ago, but then we didn't want to pay some agent fees, and now we're paying way more. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is some small negatives aside from him as a player to come with that. Haaland is just, he's touted him and Mbappe as the biggest players for the next at least decade, right? To sign him would have been a statement and a half, regardless of how much money it would have been. So for that point of view, plus how much better I believe he can get, I would have maybe slightly preferred him. But in terms of, do I prefer not to lose a player to a bigger club? Yes. So the fact that that won't happen with Lukaku, in my opinion, is a positive already, because I didn't like the whole Hazard thing going to Real Madrid. Made me feel like we're not a big club type thing, because I don't like selling players when someone else comes knocking and we're like, can we have him, please? And we just can't say no because the player wants to go and he's our star player. And that would happen with Erling Haaland eventually. I mean, we've heard that Mino Raiola even wants a get-out clause in a potential deal, right? So those are all positives for Lukaku. And people that think that Lukaku is still the player he was at Manchester United, you just live under a bit of a rock and you just only watch Premier League football and maybe Champions League football, because if you don't know what's happening in Italy, you're a bit mad. And sure, Serie A isn't quite as good as the Premier League, but it's edging closer and closer to being the second best league in the world, I would say. Look at the manager that they have. Look at the players they have. Even Messi's now bloody leaving La Liga. What do La Liga have at this point? Does anyone care about La Liga anymore? Like, will they ever even sign Mbappe and Haaland? Like, look at that league. Why do you want to go there? It looks like Serie A 10 years ago. No one cared. Let's be honest. So they could be up there with the second best league. Like I said, so many managers. Now, top managers, sure, people might not still see Jose Mourinho as top manager, but even regardless of that, there's some top managers. And Inter clearly have some capable nutritionists, unlike Manchester United. So, that helps, because it took him like a month to like lose God knows how many kilos when he turned up there. He's looking prime specimen of a man. His touch has improved. Reportedly, for 3 months straight, Conte was just working on his first touch in training. So that's clearly worked. And people will say, I've seen his touch was bad in the Euros. No, you've seen him miscontrol 3 balls in the Euros. But every player except Messi miscontrols the ball. Like, don't pretend like the other players don't. We've seen last night Kai Havertz miscontrol the ball. Do you want to sell him now? That makes no sense. So like, it is a bit illogical. But for me, Lukaku is a banging striker. He's better in the air than Haaland is. He's stronger than Haaland is. Or maybe not necessarily stronger, but he knows how to use his body better just because he's more experienced. And I mentioned the word experience there. He brings experience to a very young front line, which, in my opinion, for not only do we need a clinical striker, but I think sometimes in terms of decision-making, having someone slightly more experienced up there that can maybe direct players around him a tad more than the manager can off the sideline is a very useful thing to have on the pitch, because we have experience further back in the squad. We have Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic in midfield. We have Thiago Silva, Aspi, even Rudiger at the back. We have experience there, but the attackers, except Ziyech, but his experience is Eredivisie, so that's kind of irrelevant. I know Champions League semi-final, I get that, but that was once. Let's not pretend he did that 15 times there. So we have a very inexperienced front line. To add some experience into there, in my opinion, it's good. Who cares? Get Messi. Yeah, fair enough. But guys, we have 230 people watching, which I massively appreciate. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Just massively appreciate that. So hit the big red subscribe button. Help me reach 12k subs, eventually 15k subs. Smash the like button as well. We need to get at least 150 likes because we have way over 200 people watching. So go down below, click the little like button. Helps me loads in the algorithm, because YouTube's weird. YouTube likes things with likes. It will show it to other people. That's how us content creators do grow, and without growing, we'll get bored of things and not happy with things, and then we'll stop producing content. So smash a like, and it will be great for everyone. But let me put it to you, Pys. Obviously, I know we've spoken about Lukaku and stuff before, but what are your thoughts on these people that just seem to consistently hate on someone that's not Haaland, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think it's a bit weird, to be honest. It's very, very weird. I mean, I've seen people say, he's going to come back and be a donkey and all this. And I'm just like, man, Lukaku has improved so much since Manchester United. And it's crazy. Like, after Haaland, he was 100% my second choice. I never really considered Kane as a viable option. Lewandowski as well, not really a viable option. It was always either Haaland or Lukaku. And Lukaku, man, like, I'm just so in love with like the whole story of him, you know, coming back and Super Cup next week, and I just hope it can all get agreed by the end of this week, and then, you know, he can play in that game because he's already had a pre-season, he's already up to fitness. I don't think he has to quarantine either, so I think it could be a massive thing if he can come into Super Cup and then play really well, you know, lift the trophy. It's like poetic, isn't it? Like, it's just, yeah, I don't understand the hate for him. Like, I really don't. He's scored goals everywhere. His stats are ridiculous. Yeah, the only thing you can give against him is, you know, this whole top six argument. But what I say to those people is, Lukaku coming back to the Premier League is not just coming back to the Premier League. He's coming back to the Premier League with a point to prove to all these people that have doubted him. You know, the media used to slander Lukaku so much when he was at Manchester United. Sky Sports were one of the worst, like his touch and how he doesn't score in big games and stuff. And yeah, like Simon Johnson's actually mentioned that in his articles lately, is like, you know, Lukaku originally wasn't fond of coming back to the Premier League a while ago, obviously because of the whole like stereotype around him. But I think now him coming back is going to be crazy because he's going to have so much extra motivation as well to not only do well at Chelsea but to prove all the people wrong. And I think that's what makes it such a dangerous move for rivals. Is I think he's really going to score a lot of goals, and why I want it to happen is because, yeah, just the motivation levels are going to be so high, man. Like, I'll be buzzing if it actually happens. And yes, it's a lot of money, but he's in his prime, you know, 28, 29, 30. If we can get 3 really good years of 20 plus goals, and then whatever else happens after that, you know, you're looking at cups, you're looking at titles, hopefully. Who knows what we're going to do in the Champions League as well. Like, it's just a fantastic move, and you're going to have to pay a lot of money for these you know, strikers. He's a top 5 striker in the world, easily. Yeah, arguably top 3 on form right now. Like, over the last year or so, he's really, like, Harry Kane, maybe
your top 3 now?
I'd say Kane, Lewandowski, and Lukaku, I think, would be my top 3. I think Haaland just outside that, just because of how young he is.
I think Benzema is better than Lukaku. But Benzema's old, but in terms of right now.
I actually saw that on debate on Twitter the other day, and it was kind of like mixed. It was kind of like 50-50. There was a lot of split between that, but
okay.
Yeah,
I just think Benzema is a better overall footballer. Like, he doesn't just score goals.
Well, yeah, I know, but neither does Lukaku now. Like,
no, that's true. That's true.
His creativity. I mean, his creativity stats for Inter, like he led in all of them last season, and
yeah,
people
he created
were talking
the most
about,
chances out of every player in the entire league.
Yeah, like people were telling me, "Oh, Laturo's the creative one." No, Lukaku's the creative one. Like, he did everything.
Was just sat there.
Yeah, literally, Lukaku did everything for Inter, and that's why the fans are so annoyed, and the executives are so annoyed because, you know, they'd like to get rid of Laturo, really, but because Lukaku he's the main man. He means so much to them. So, yeah, let's see what happens. I'm just hoping for the best, you know. I really am.
Yeah, no, exactly. And one other thing I do want to add, and someone put it in the comments as well, even if he still has this problem of not turning up against the top 6, does that really matter? Because the top 6 games is not why we don't win leagues. We win those anyway. We won the Champions League. Look at who we beat under Tuchel. Not under every manager, mind you, but under Tuchel. Playing the top 6 is not the problem. What's the problem is the lesser teams. And if Lukaku comes in and scores against every lesser team and makes sure we win all those games, I mean, I'm not complaining. Like, that's why we need goals. I don't want no 0-0s against Leeds, 0-0s against Wolves, 1-1s against Southampton, random losses against God knows who, right? I want us to not sit there after every game and cry about we can't break down low blocks and have a go at this player and have a go at that player. And I think Con said it perfectly well yesterday, because people were saying our Pulisic was poor yesterday, but I was saying Werner was god awful. And Con made a very good point, saying it's all well and good that Werner makes great runs and provides assists for other players, but that's because the other players take those chances. When other players make chances for him, he bottles them, meaning the other players look worse by the end of the season because they don't have an extra 5 or 10 assists because Werner misses all of them chances. So, like, sure, it's great that Werner makes others look better, but Werner makes the others look worse. But yeah, well, that kind of didn't make sense. But you know what I'm trying to say. Werner maybe provides for the others, but what the others provide for him, he ruins, making them look worse. So, you know, those are things we just need someone more clinical, and like I said, someone more experienced. But Johnathan, anything you want to add on that? Because like I said, I just find it weird how critical people are of this. Like, one last thing I want to say before I put you on that, John. Do you have a nickname?
Just Johnathan. To be fair,
you go.
manhandled is just John. Anything, John, Johnny, Jonathan, anything.
Oh, okay, good. How much money do people think Harry Kane, if at all, leaves? Like, because to say it's so crazy how expensive Romelu Lukaku is, the rumored fee of Kane is 150 million pounds, right? That's what was talked about. Obviously, whether that's true or not, who knows? But that would put us roughly 40 million pounds off with Lukaku. Is Lukaku 40 million pounds worse than Kane? No. So if you compare it that way, you could argue Lukaku is a good deal. Obviously, Kane would leave to a rival, so that already adds some extra money onto it. Spurs are also not in as much financial trouble as Inter are, so are less forced to sell, if at all. So obviously, that you have to consider everything. But in terms of just looking at the transfer fee, I don't think it's drastically overpaying for Lukaku if Kane's 40 million more, personally. So even that, I'm like, calm down. Big players cost big money. You need to accept it. The inflation in the transfer market has happened. Neymar went for 200 million pounds, 222 million euros years ago. We got, with bonuses, obviously we will never get all of those bonuses because Hazard has decided to be awful at Real Madrid. But with all of those bonuses, we would have gotten 140 to 150 million pounds for him on a guy that had 1 year left on his contract at 28 or 29 years of age. No, you can't tell me we're drastically overpaying for Lukaku and he's so much too expensive. That's waffle, in my opinion. But Johnathan, please tell me what you think about the whole situation.
I'm a massive Lukaku fan. I've said it for the last couple of months that, look, he has to be a viable option. He's not a second option, in my opinion. I think a lot of it on Twitter and social media is Lukaku versus Haaland. Yes, they're very different strikers. I think, Haaland was the darling of the fans, the board, and everyone wanted and expected him to come. All this, I don't understand this obsession with the resale value. Look, Haaland is going to come to Chelsea, probably as a stepping stone. Look, we've just seen the Liga have had a massive, I think quite a financial boost, couple of 100 million for the main teams, Barcelona and Real Madrid. In the next couple of years, that's going to obviously help them. I would imagine that with Raiola and his agent fees and how he likes to collect them, he'd probably see Chelsea for the next 3-4 years of his career and then go to Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona. So we're going to be used as a stepping stone. And like you said about Hazard, it's not nice to feel like that. Chelsea are a big enough club in their own right to not be a stepping stone. And all this about resale, look, we signed him for 150 million. Are we guaranteed to get at least 150 million in a couple of years' time? We don't know. We don't know if he's going to improve, decline. So to spend that much money on a player, to think that, okay, he's going to score a few goals and then get resale value, it's not guaranteed in football. We've spent massive amounts of money, Shevchenko, Morata. It hasn't worked out. So as much as we think Haaland will, you never know. So all this obsession with resale value, I don't quite understand it. And look, Lukaku, 100, 120, 130 million. Us fans are not paying it.
That's euros, by the way. So it's 100 to 110 million pounds even.
For me, who cares? You can buy a bag from Next. You can buy a bag from Louis Vuitton. Both are nice bags. Why do you want the Louis Vuitton one? Because you want the name. You can sign Lukaku or you can sign like a Danny Ings. Now, what do Chelsea fans want? We literally scraped top 4 last season. I don't think we should be too picky about who we sign. Lukaku or Haaland, they're both going to improve us. And as you both said, Lukaku has massively improved his game under Conte especially, and since he's been at Serie A, completely transformed himself. He's guaranteed to score you goals against the small teams. I still think he's going to turn up in the big games as well. And if he scores goals that gets us the points to win us titles, you cannot put a price on winning trophies. Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues, even FA Cups, the Super Cup we've got coming up. And as Pi said, him coming back to kind of avenge the story that he had when he signed. He's obviously been a Chelsea fan for quite a long time. Missed that penalty in the Super Cup. Imagine if he was to sign in time to come and win it for us. I think there's just unfinished business.
Yeah, but still don't let him take the last pen if we go there, please.
I think we should win it in normal time. Let's be honest.
Yeah, we should. But I'm saying if we get there, let's not do the 5th one, please. Take the 4th one, that's fine, but not the last one.
Yeah, I just think he even said it in a podcast about Chelsea and Man United where he kind of expected to go to Chelsea. Morata was going to go somewhere else. And then Chelsea ended up going for Morata and he didn't feel wanted by Chelsea. Man United came in and said, look, we really want you. And that's why he went there. I think a lot of people are saying that he disrespected us or wanted to go to United. Man United made him feel welcome. And as a player, if someone offers you money and someone offers you an opportunity in the Premier League at a big club like Man United, you don't turn it down. And it's the same right now as Inter Milan. He's probably looked at the project and gone, where am I best suited for the next 2 to 3 years of my career? Where am I most likely going to win trophies? And if I was him, I'd look at it and go, 100% Chelsea. Inter Milan are in financial problems. Are they going to keep the other players he doesn't know? And at your prime of your career, where, as I said, he's going to come and score goals. If he doesn't score 10, 12, 15 goals next season, I will be absolutely astonished. We make so many chances in this Chelsea lineup. Even last night, all of last season, we didn't score enough goals. So if we're going to bring in a striker that's guaranteeing us pretty much to do that, as I said, you cannot put a price on it. I just feel like he just gets disrespected, too much comparisons with Haaland. And as I said right at the start of this piece, we're not paying the money. And if you have to pay a little bit more than you want to, then so be it. If you want that man, and obviously Haaland isn't a goer, you have to go and get him, because we cannot go into this season with the same squad that had a top goal scorer with Jorginho of 7 penalties. It cannot work. Last night, again, Werner, yes, got in good positions. Yes, he scored, he's made chances. But is he going to score 15, 20 goals? I'm not that confident. I know Havertz is great, and I'm a massive Havertz fan, but we need a deadly killer up front. Lukaku fits the bill, and I don't understand why anyone would be against us scoring or bringing in a proven goal scorer.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'll put it to Pys in a second. I see a lot of people talking about Messi. If you really want us to, we'll talk about Messi for a second in a minute. Give us a second. By the way, guys, we have nearly 300 people watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Smash the like button. And if you really want to make sure I react to your message or whatever, because there's so many people in the chat right now, please do use the super chat function. It's always massively appreciated. Otherwise it feels a bit unfair if I highlight this comment when they're all the same comments. You know what I mean? Anyway, Pys, did anything come out as 7 about Lukaku, or is there nothing?
There is nothing at the moment. I've been checking, but yeah, there's nothing at the moment. I think the whole world just stopped and started talking about Messi, I think.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But it's also a case of, for me, it just seems like, typical, obvious drama that was going to happen, But we had the same thing with Kai. I feel like I remember when we knew it was done. All of a sudden, there was like, "What if it isn't done?" type thing. And I feel like it's just a similar situation now. Give it a day, we'll probably get the offer done, and the day after, we'll probably make it official.
What I would say quickly is, if there's going to be something later, Di Marzio always puts out his nightly articles. So what he does is he goes on Sky Sports usually every night, and then he puts the articles out later. So it's usually around sort of 10, 11 UK time, if you guys want to check his Twitter. And I'll tweet out any update that comes out. He usually does them then. He's been doing them nightly so far. So, yeah, if there's any new news, that's when it will be, usually.
Exactly. And I just need to highlight this now, because I guess it'll take us to talking about Messi. All right. I need to explain something to all of you guys, apparently. Let me explain football a little bit for you, okay? So, 100 million for Lukaku, yes. Messi is a free agent, also true. Do you know how much money Messi earned at Barcelona? He earned more than £1 million a week. People were dramatizing over Haaland ruining our wage structure, right? Messi is 34 years of age and would definitely not come at a lower wage. Otherwise, why would he leave Barca? If he's happy to go back to 200k, he could have comfortably stayed within the wage cap of La Liga. By the way, I'm actually don't hate the fact that La Liga have this wage cap. Just want to say that. But anyway, there's no chance anyone but PSG and potentially Man City, and even City, I doubt it, can sign Messi. It's physically impossible. And that's, by the way, that's just wages. I haven't even mentioned a sign-on fee, an agent fee, a this fee, a that fee. Over the contract, what contract would you give him at 34? 3 years, maybe? He'd earn probably 1 million pounds a week. A week. Yeah, multiply that by 52. Then you add goal bonuses. Then you add probably 50 million, if not 100 million, that he'd need in a sign-on fee. Neymar got ungodly amounts of money as a sign-on fee when he went to Barcelona, because obviously they used that buyout clause, but they triggered it by officially Neymar getting this Qatari sponsor, private sponsor. So they just gave him 222 million euros. So then he could buy himself out of the Barcelona contract, which is why it didn't impact with financial fair play for PSG. So they were absolutely fine, because they didn't officially pay for it. He paid for it himself, which is stupendous anyway, right? But we're just not getting Messi. I do apologize. Messi, in my opinion, is the greatest footballer of all time. Obviously, I didn't see Pele and Maradona, did I now? But in terms of football, has got better. And he's the best now. So if he's the best now and football is better, clearly he's better than them, in my opinion. It's not just the other ones won World Cups, and I don't care. the man was on coke all day long and was still the best footballer. So, like, if he had that discipline today, he probably would play League One. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, it doesn't work that way. So I would love, in theory, if Messi would join Chelsea, I would be over the bloody moon. But it's just not going to happen. And when I say with the 34, you say, I didn't mean because he's finished. I meant that because it's still Chelsea. It's still Chelsea. But do either of you have anything to add on Messi? Because it's just not going to happen, is it, Pys?
No, I don't know where he's going to go. I'd imagine PSG, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm just dreading that he goes to Man City. Like, imagine if that happened, I'd just stop watching football if they started going for him. But
we could save ourselves buying Lukaku, really, if they get Messi.
I mean, like, if he
a bit pointless at that point.
If he went Man City, then football would just be done. But yeah, I hope that he does go to PSG.
Yeah, because he can score his like 50 league goals every season there. Imagine Messi just going for a stat sesh. That's all he's doing. Ronaldo's got the most goals of anyone. Yeah, I'm going PSG. I'm scoring more. That's what that seems like on fair play. They just need a new manager because obviously Pochettino is awful. Because they can't win nothing with him there. They lost the Super Cup. They lost the league. They're losing everything. They're awful. Get rid of Pochettino. I've kept saying this for the last 6 months. Most overrated manager in world football. Not saying he's bad, but just not as good as people are saying he is, if that makes sense. But yeah, Johnathan, anything to add on Messi? Because it's a bit silly to me that people think we can get him.
It's mental, yeah. What is the only option? It must be PSG because no one's going to be able to afford his wage structure and his demands. Because look, I mean, Fabrizio took out a tweet another 3 minutes after he said that official Lionel Messi is leaving, despite reaching an agreement between Barca and Leo Messi with the clear intention of both parties signing a new contract today. It's not possible because of the economic and structural obstacles because of the La Liga regulations. Now, there's a few different articles I saw about financial issues that Barcelona had, having to sell so many players to cull their wages. They're almost trying to buy people out of their contracts. So I don't quite understand how they haven't been able to structure it so that maybe he gets a lesser wage and variables. I don't quite understand because if we really wanted to stay, I'm sure they can find a way.
Because they're just so far off their wage cap. That's the problem.
The thing is, it's Barcelona's problem. It's not Messi's. Don't get me wrong. Messi can lower his demands to a point maybe where Barcelona cannot even still afford him. But Barcelona have got themselves into this mess. The way themselves and La Liga have allowed themselves to function serves them right, really. And it's a shame that he's not going to be there because, you know, without him, the Liga.
This could be true. Even though, because just to interrupt you here, Johnathan, for a second, this isn't like just Marco and Fabrizio Romano said this. FC Barcelona have literally posted an Instagram post with one of the longest official Instagram posts I've ever seen. I'll read it out quickly. Like on the official FC Barcelona account. Latest news, Leo Messi will not continue with FC Barcelona. Despite FC Barcelona and Lionel Messi having reached an agreement and the clear intention of both parties to sign a new contract today, this cannot happen because of financial and structural obstacles in brackets Spanish La Liga regulations. As a result of this, Messi shall not be staying at FC Barcelona. Both parties deeply regret that the wishes of the player and the club will ultimately not be fulfilled. FC Barcelona wholeheartedly expressed its gratitude to the player for his contribution to the, I've never seen that word in my life, aggrandizement of the club, and wishes him all the very best for the future in his personal and professional life. And then obviously the same in Spanish and Catalan. But I kind of like it. Sure, it's a conspiracy theory, but I like it. Smoke screen, because can La Liga really afford to lose Messi?
It's a very good point because they've just got this massive investment. Like I said, I mean, there was a cap on how much they could spend on transfer fees, how much they could spend on wages. So maybe it is a power move to say, look, you've just got this investment. If you want to get any more investment, you're going to lose the best, one of the best players, if not the best player in the world or of all time. So I get what they're trying to do. The way they've done that post, I know it's quite sudden, but it doesn't feel like a tribute and a farewell. So, as I said, it's their own.
You're right. It feels like there would be more.
There's more to come. Like, we've said easy staying, easy going, and now he's to come out. And I think obviously Fabrizio to say it, something must have happened. There must be a real kind of turning point. But as I say, where's he really going to go other than PSG? That's the only option. So I think there's a lot more to come of this. But if he doesn't sign for Barcelona, it'll be a real shame because someone like Aguero, who they still haven't registered other players that they wanted to sign as well. They're trying to get rid of others. So really interesting. And it's really, I think, overshadowed any news that can come out today. So that's why I think maybe Lukaku might not be something might not come out until tomorrow.
Yeah, no, potentially. It's also a case of You know, give it a week. Maybe we'll hear some more Super League news. Because maybe they just changed the Super League and like, no, we're not doing this instead of the Champions League. We're doing it instead of everything. F all of you. We don't want a wage cap. you know the Barca, Juve, and Real Madrid have officially still not resigned of the Super Leagues now. It's madness to me. I mean, hey, all the best to you. If you want to do a 3-way Super League, good luck with that, I suppose. But it's a bit crazy. I mean, if he does leave, it's more than the end of an era. Like, I'm not sure about you boys. Obviously, we're Chelsea fans, but as kids, like, obviously, I'm from a different country. So for me, it wasn't a case of like, oh, my parents were Chelsea fans, so I just followed that. And when I was 3 years old, I walked through the Stamford Bridge. It wasn't quite like that. So for me, it was the first guy that made me fall in love with football was Ronaldinho, because he was just beautiful. That was just football, no specific clubs. That was just gorgeous, right? And then obviously that whole Messi stuff, and we all know how good the Clásicos in that was. Whether you liked Barcelona as a Chelsea fan, especially after 2009 or not, no one can tell me that you didn't enjoy watching Messi. It's ridiculous how good the guy is. So if he actually leaves, that's crazy. That's crazy. And it's also, it's in a way, it's sad. I know people say, but he can never be considered greater than Ronaldo because he's only played in one league. I think, in my eyes, but because I'm not tradition is the wrong word, but I like loyalty a lot in football. So for me, it almost put him above Ronaldo, the fact that he hadn't gone anywhere. Now it's kind of like that standpoint is obviously out the window, especially if he goes to PSG. That doesn't exactly make it more difficult than La Liga. But like, even Gerrard didn't stay until the very end, went to Galaxy. Even Terry didn't stay until the very end, went to Villa. Like, you just don't see that much anymore of a player just staying at a club for his whole career. So, from that point of view, I find it a little bit sad if he's genuinely leaving, but it's fun. It's a fun topic. It's a fun craze in football. If this is just smokescreen and you give it 2 weeks, La Liga changed the wage cap structure because we can't lose Messi because 3 days and all of the sponsors all of a sudden, actually, we don't care about La Liga anymore, boys. So it's crazy. Lukaku deal collapsing due to Messi's Barca exit. Doubt that, but hey ho. Boys, do either of you have anything more to add? Because otherwise, I think we can slowly but surely wrap it up, maybe with a couple of words ahead of the Super Cup, obviously.
I just want to say a couple of things on Lukaku, if that's all right. I mean, just to add to my earlier points about how good of a signing you'd be, and for Chelsea fans to consider, because I've said this a couple of times on streams and had a mixed response. But if you look at Chelsea's history as strikers, I've mentioned about Shevchenko, about Morata, some quite expensive buys that haven't really worked out. I'm not going to include Torres because I know he didn't do as well as we wanted, but he did win trophies. If you look at the caliber and the type of striker that's really succeeded in this Roman Abramovich's era, who could you really point to? Because I'm looking at Drogba, I'm looking at Costa. Those are the two, when we signed and when they played, you felt they had a presence, they scored goals, they bullied defences, and they were, defences would turn up and go, don't fancy playing him today. And Lukaku, the way he's built, the way he bullied players at the Euros, the way he's done it at Inter Milan, he's done it in the Premier League for West Brom and Everton especially, he's of that mould. And that type of striker is what's been successful in the Chelsea era. No matter what manager we have, what type of football, what formation, that big bullish striker that can score goals aerially, on the floor, not afraid to shoot, he's of that category. Drogba, Costa, and now Lukaku. So I just don't get why he wouldn't be a success at Chelsea. And I'm happy to eat my words, but I just feel like when you think of it in terms of what kind of striker has been successful, he's not going to fail. And we're a fantastic tactician and manager with Tuchel, who's going to make him even better. I just don't see why it wouldn't be the right move for both parties.
I would agree. And that's also, and I'll put it to you in a second, Pice, for you to add anything else if there is anything. But Kane going to City, even though it's the same league, I feel like there's more of a threat that doesn't work because he's only ever played at Tottenham. And even for England, sure, he's scoring stupid amounts of goals. But how many good games has Harry Kane actually had for England? You can probably count them off on one hand. I'm not English, so I didn't see every bloody qualifier game. But in terms of actual serious games that anyone cares about, how many good games he had? He hasn't had one at the Euros. Okay, against Ukraine. Congratulations, right? Do you know what I mean? Austria beat Ukraine. This doesn't count for anything, right? It's just Ukraine. I don't care, right? But Lukaku has not just done it in this league, but first of all, at multiple clubs in this league and at a club in a different league. And even in the Champions League, he does good. You know what I mean? There's not really much of a... if there's always a threat that the transfer doesn't work. There always is, no matter who you are, no matter what you do. But Lukaku is probably as close to no threat as you can kind of get with a signing, in my opinion. Obviously, I could be proved wrong, but that's my opinion on that one. And to be honest, I would say potentially similar things about Haaland, and I would find similar different reasons for why, even though there's less logical reasons. Just I would say he's that good, but I'm more confident that Lukaku works from day one. Maybe not day one because he will have had 2 training sessions by then, but say from week 2 or 3. Than I am in Haaland working from week 2 or 3. With Haaland, I'd probably say give him a few months until we see the proper Haaland. But then again, obviously, he's moved to Dortmund, came on and scored a hat-trick. It's the Bundesliga, Timo Werner scored 28 goals there. Now he scored 6 in the Premier League, so But Pais, anything else you want to add to whether it's Messi, whether it's Lukaku, or anything else?
Yeah, I agree with Johnathan really on the whole Lukaku thing that, he's a really physical striker and they really rarely ever, don't think anyone has kind of flopped at Chelsea like that. They are traditional Chelsea strikers that seem to do well, your Drogba, your Costa, etc. So, I think he's the perfect sort of build we need as well, because Tuchel said last night, we need someone that can play with their back to goal to add a direct style of play. Well, you're literally just saying, we need Lukaku without actually saying we need Lukaku, and then he went on to say, Lukaku is a fantastic player. So obviously in his mind, he knows it's close because, all we have to do really is...
Sorry to interrupt you quickly. Let's not turn Lukaku into this target man, Giroud type player. Because as much as I like the jokiness of Tuchel saying, I'm sure there's a lot of players that want to join my squad. Let's not turn Lukaku into that's all he is, because I don't like that, because that's what United did. And that's why he failed at United, or didn't even fail in numbers, but failed in the opinions of people, because he isn't a hold-up striker. He can do that as part of his game, but if you think that's all he is, and if you limit him to just doing that, that's stupendous, in my opinion. Like, you need to allow him in your system to do more than just hold the ball up, please. So I hope Tuchel isn't going to, misuse Lukaku there. I trust Tuchel, so I don't think he will, but... I actually personally wasn't that big a fan of that sentence, just because can we allow him to do more than just what Giroud did, please?
It's so worrying, bro. Don't worry. Tuchel will know what to do with him. I think with direct style of play and direct run, I think it's all because Lukaku makes his big long runs in behind, kind of similar to Werner, but obviously because it's different build, it's kind of different. It's kind of Werner will more drift out wide, and Lukaku will just sort of use his body and run in behind. So, yeah.
Also, Lukaku runs with the aim to get the ball. Werner also runs with the aim to open space. Lukaku does that less so.
Yeah, so it will definitely be interesting to see how he uses him, but I have no doubts that Tuchel will make them. He's improved pretty much everyone that's joined, apart from a few lost causes in pre-season. So, I think Lukaku will be a massive success for us if it gets over the line. Just I'm just waiting for more news now, because the Christophe Terreur, I'm not sure what his name is. Christophe, he is the most reliable for Belgium news, full stop. If there's anything he says on Belgian players, it's 100% true. So he said that we're trying to get it done the next 2 to 3 days. So just waiting for more news, and we'll see if we can agree on a fee. I hope we do.
Yeah, I hope we do as well. Enough stinge. I do want to say one last thing. If it's a case of Dortmund always told us we want this much, or we're just not selling, and that's the reason why we decided not to, why we now changed our mind. We could have just signed Lukaku 3 weeks ago. I will say that. If all we did with Dortmund is say, do you want 130? And they said no. Do you want 140? And they said no. Do you want 150 in euros? And they said no. And we asked, do you want 175? And even then they said no, theoretically. If that's all that happened. Oh, no, sorry. No, that's not what. But if they said we need 175, but we were never willing to pay 175, we could have just signed Lukaku 3 weeks ago and would have made his transition easier and made it for the club for Tuchel and the players a little bit easier. That's the only thing I'll say. But hey, at least we seem to have so far gotten that done quite quickly, especially with the reported plan to him for him to end up being available for the Super Cup. Like, you can't ask for much more than that, really. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to wrap it up here. We have 320 people watching, which I massively appreciate. So if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. Hit that big red subscribe button to help me reach 12,000 subscribers, ideally. Obviously not right now, but, you know, help me get closer. The more of you to subscribe, the quicker we can get there. So please do that. Smash the like button. Let's get to 200 likes right now. Just go down below as you're on the way out. As I wrap this up, go, you know, smash the like button. Doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time. I appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in today. I appreciate Johnathan, our newbie, our first time on the channel, for joining us. I'm hoping it will not be a first and last time. I'm hoping you come back on soon. And the same obviously goes for Pys. We'll see him again very soon. Obviously, he's very much so a regular. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. I need to scroll for a second here. I need to do the intro again because StreamYards change everything. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. And I'll see you next time.